Welcome to the 2013 NAIA Football Championship Series live selection show brought to you by Play NAIA, the NAIA's Eligibility Center. I'm your host, Alan Grossbach, alongside Chad Waller, broadcasting live from the NAIA headquarters in downtown Kansas City, Missouri. Now, over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, Chad and I will present the 8 first-round games and the 16 teams that have qualified for this year's Football Championship Series. The FCS first round kicks off Saturday, November 23rd.
You know, Alan, I've been covering NAIA football for the last 7 years, and this is always an exciting time for everyone involved, including the parents, fans, schools, and most importantly, the student-athletes themselves. As we do every year, we have some of the perennial powerhouse NAIA football programs you expected to see in this year's playoffs, and a few surprises. It's win or go home now, with every team vying for a spot in the 58th Annual Russell Athletic NAIA Football National Championship. And this, the Dr. Tom Osborne National Championship Trophy. It's going to be really awesome.
You know, like you say, newcomers, perennial powerhouses, it's a nice mix, and it always creates for an interesting event. You know, for those of you that are new to NAIA football, there are 2 ways that a team can make the football championship field. A team can qualify as a conference regular season champion or make the field as an at-large selection. However, one important piece that any team, conference champion or at-large team, must rank within the top 20 in the final regular season coaches poll to be eligible. A second thing to keep in mind is that the Football Championship Series is not a true bracket like our basketball championships. Teams are, in a sense, reseeded following each round, and the seedings and pairings are developed by the NAIA Championships Department in consultation with the NAIA Football Selection Committee, which is comprised of the sport liaison from the National Administrative Council and the NAIA Football Coaches Association officers. Now, for what everyone's waiting for, the 2013 Football Championship field and first-round pairings. And we start with Game 1, which pits 12th-ranked Northwestern against number 7 Missouri Valley. Now, these 2 teams have a wealth of postseason experience, with Missouri Valley in its 11th FCS and the Red Raiders in their 16th. This will be the second meeting between these 2 sides, with Missouri Valley winning the previous matchup 33-26 in Marshall, Missouri in 2006. The Vikings are hosting their 3rd straight first-round game and own a 6-3 record all-time at home in FCS contests. The Red Raiders are 7-8 all-time in road contests in the FCS, with their last win coming in 2000.
Now, Alan, I'm going to get into some of the season notes for each team. First, for Missouri Valley. The Vikings finished the season 8-2 and claimed a share of the Heart of America Athletic Conference crown. The Vikings entered the FCS with the nation's best defense, leading the NAIA in rushing yards allowed, total defense, and scoring defense. Lineman Ty Phillips is the anchor for that defense, leading the team with 22 tackles for loss, including 8 sacks. And it's really no surprise, as each year for the past several years, Missouri Valley's defense has been a signature for that team. Offensively, quarterback Bruce Reyes has been an efficient piece of that Vikings offense. He's completing 64.6% of his passes for over 2,600 yards and 17 touchdowns. The junior is 26-4 as a starter, including a 2-2 mark in the FCS. Now, for Northwestern, the Red Raiders improved to 8-2 and extended its winning streak to 6 straight games with a 55-27 domination of Midland on Saturday. The offense piled up over 600 yards of offense, including 408 through the air. Quarterback Davis Bomendal, who tossed a season-high 395 yards on Saturday, has recorded over 25 passing yards this year. He has 28 passing touchdowns and also has chipped in 6 rushing touchdowns on the season. He has led a team ranked in the top 20 in scoring to reach at least 35 points in 3 of their last 4 games. So quite the scoring outburst for them. The defense has gained 21 turnovers on the year and ranks in the top 20 in rushing defense and less than 130 yards per game.
You know, 2 teams that play solid defense and 2 teams that have pretty decent offenses as well. So a lot of interesting things could happen in Marshall in the upcoming weekend. You know, looking at Game 2, that pits 11th-ranked Tabor at 8th-ranked Benedictine. Now, this is the first meeting between these 2 teams in the FCS. And Benedictine, they're hosting an FCS game for the first time since 2000 when they lost to Northwestern 27-26. Overall, the Ravens are 3-3 at home in the playoffs. And Tabor, they're trying to win their first ever road playoff game as they're 0-3 away from home. Overall, the Blue Jays are making their first playoff appearance since 2005 after going 9-2 on the year, including a 6-1 mark down the stretch. On the flip side, Benedictine has appeared in the playoffs 12 times, but has experienced limited success with only a 4-11 record.
Yeah, now breaking down the news further with Benedictine, the Ravens this year, they stand 10-1. And showcase one of the NAIA's top offenses, ranking among the top 10 nationally in scoring offense at 41 points a game and total offense at 464 yards a game on the offensive side. Quarterback Bill Noonan, who we've talked about a lot on our show the past couple weeks, he's been a special player for the Ravens all year long. His 2,600 yards passing is 7th in the NAIA, and another key cog has been tailback Cameron for Benedictine, who owns 1,300 rushing yards and a team-high 25 touchdowns this season. For Tabor, the offense is also a potent one, and it's spearheaded by running back James Monroe, who as a team, the Blue Jays, they own the second-best rushing attack with over 335 yards per game. As a team, Tabor runs the ball an average of 61 times, while Monroe carries a lot of that ball because he averages 25 touches a game. He stands with over 1,400 yards on the ground, which is 7th highest in the NAIA, and has picked up 14 rushing touchdowns. Now, the Tabor defense, they're no slouch either. They rank in the top 10 nationally in total defense and is 12th in scoring at 19 points per game.
You know, a lot could happen on Atchison on Saturday, as you've got a Benedictine team that can really throw the ball around but then balance it out with Cameron Ford, and a run-heavy Blue Jays team that runs the ball hard and then plays tough defense. And, you know, going back to Benedictine, they've obviously had a really special year this year. They started the season out 9-0 before dropping that one loss on the year. And, you know, thanks to Josh Pound and the Benedictine Sports Information Department, we were able to catch up with Benedictine head coach Larry Wilcox earlier this week and talk about the Ravens' special season so far.
Well, we went into the year preseason number 5 in the Heart of America Conference, and we're able to possibly share in a conference championship or win a conference championship. So I think that's several steps above where most people saw us early in the year. And probably what has helped most in our success this season has been what I would call the chemistry or the camaraderie of this group. We don't have a lot of stars, but we have a lot of guys that really care about one another, and they mesh well, and they support one another, they encourage one another, and I think that's carried us through some of our closer games on the season. Well, I think every team in the NAIA and at all levels of football aspire to qualify for the top 20 in the nation, be involved in the national playoffs, compete for a conference championship, and of course our guys do as well, and they're on the verge of being able to do those things, and we need to have a good win in our last week. So having guys that played in the national playoffs 2 years ago, most of them weren't starters, but maybe contributed or traveled to that game, so they have exposure to that, and I think they would be very, very excited to be back and have those kind of opportunities again.
You know, Chad, Coach Wilcox is one of the most successful coaches in NAIA history, and it's good to see him and his Ravens back in the playoffs after a one-year hiatus.
Yeah, you're right. A special season, like you said, and thanks to the coach for that great interview. Now let's move into the third of our 8 first-round games, featuring 9th-ranked Faulkner at 6th-ranked St. Francis of Indiana. This is the first meeting in the FCS between these two programs. St. Francis is making its 14th appearance all-time in the FCS, all coming in the last 15 years, including a streak of 4 straight berths. Conversely, Faulkner is appearing in its first ever playoff, so congrats to both teams. St. Francis is 18-1 all-time in their home games in the FCS and has won 16 straight postseason home games, including a 22-17 win over Baker last year in the first round. Faulkner boasts one of the NAIA's top offenses with an average of 590 yards of offense, and also boasts top-ranked pass offense led by Josh Hollingsworth as he throws for over 380 yards per contest.
You know, looking at St. Francis first as a team, the Cougars earned an automatic berth by virtue of an 8-2 record and winning the Mid-States Football Association Mid-East title. You know, after a 28-24 loss to Robert Morris on October 26, St. Francis has won 3 straight games, and the defense has only allowed an average of 12 points per game during that stretch, so pretty impressive by that team. You know, 3 quarterbacks have seen significant time due to injuries across the board for the Cougars. David Yoder has now taken most of the snaps for the team so far this year, and he finished last Saturday with 224 passing yards in their win against Marion. He posted over 1,500 yards passing this season and 15 touchdowns. And one thing to note about St. Francis is due to their injuries, they haven't had a rusher tally more than 400 total yards on the season. So it's been impressive to watch them make it through the year, and they're playing very strong right now. You know, for Faulkner, they're playing strong as well. The Eagles are 9-2 and have won 6 straight to climb from being unranked into a top 10 team. Senior quarterback Josh Hollingsworth, who we mentioned earlier, some may remember that he set the NAIA single-game passing record 2 years ago with 637 yards against Union, Kentucky. And as expected, he's been really the spark plug for that offense again this year, as he's thrown for a career-best 4,180 yards on the season, including a season-high 554-yard effort in Faulkner's regular season finale against Kentucky Christian. He's also thrown for 41 touchdowns, which is just 5 shy of his career-high 46 he also threw during that sophomore year. Defensively, the Eagles love to get after the quarterback, ranking among the top 3 nationally in sacks with 38.
So we'll see if St. Francis can tone down the potent Faulkner offense attack. Now I'm going to turn to Game 4, and now we feature 10th-ranked Rocky Mountain, and they travel to number 5 Morningside. This is the first meeting in the FCS between these two teams. Considering Morningside is playing in its 10th playoff all since 2004, and this is Rocky Mountain's first trip to the FCS since '99. So quite a long drought, but good. Congratulations to both schools. Morningside will be hosting their 6th straight first-round game in as many years, and the Mustangs all-time are 8-2 when played in Sioux City, Iowa in the playoffs. This is the 3rd overall FCS appearance for Rocky Mountain. The Battling Bears have been in some close games in the playoffs. In the 3 previous playoff games, the average margin of victory has been only 4 points, so they've been in some close games. Overall, Rocky is 1-2 all-time in the playoffs and when they've played on the road.
The defending national runner-up Mustangs have rebounded from a Week 9 loss against Northwestern with a 51-13 victory on Senior Day against Doane last weekend, and this gave them their 3rd straight outright GPAC title. The Mustangs feature a balanced offensive attack that ranks 3rd in the NAIA in total offense per game at 574 yards per game, and the Morningside Mustangs have only been held under 500 yards of total offense once this season, and that came in that season finale against Doane. Head coach Steve Ryan, last year's AFCA NAIA Coach of the Year, also has a lot of talent on defense as the Mustangs enter the FCS, allowing an average of 273.5 yards and 17 points per game, which ranks 3rd and 6th nationally. Now for Rocky Mountain, the Battling Bears bring an 8-3 overall record into the playoffs, and their bread and butter is really the passing game, which ranks top 5 in the NAIA at over 3,500 yards this season. And quarterback Bryce Baker, he's really the spark plug for that offense. We talked about Noonan and some of the other quarterbacks, and he's tossed for over 3,200 yards this season and really leads what is a balanced offense that averages 38 rushes per game and about 38 pass attempts per game. However, one interesting note about the running game is it only averages 3.9 yards per carry, and no one on the team has rushed for more than 400 yards this season. When we take a step away from football and we look throughout the course of the season and the teams battle adversity week in and week out, and however for Morningside linebacker Austin Grantowitz, the adversity hit home last fall when he was diagnosed with a form of leukemia and was told he might not ever get to play football again. At the point of the diagnosis, 100% of his blood cells contained the protein that was causing the cancer, and today less than 1% of those cells contain the protein. He's progressed much faster than expected and was actually cleared to play football this past fall. Thanks to Morningside Sports Information Director Dave Rebstock, we were able to catch up with Austin a little earlier this week and talk about what it's like to be back playing football again.
We're here with Morningside College's Austin Grantowitz, who has made a triumphant return to the playing field this year after last fall when the Mustangs broke preseason camp. Shortly after that, he found out he was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia, but is back on the playing field this year. Austin, what has this season meant to you as far as the opportunity to get back on the field?
It's meant a lot. After talking to my doctor right after I was diagnosed, he wasn't sure if I'd be able to make it back, and I made it one of my goals was to get back on the playing field. And so after going through the summer and working with my coaches and stuff and getting the news that I was going to get to play again, it was awesome.
Can you tell us about what it took to actually get back on the field?
I had to work with my doctor a lot because he wasn't sure, and so I had to make sure I never missed any of my treatments. And then the summer and throughout all of last season, I'd work with my coaches. They put together a lifting and conditioning program that I could do that wasn't too strenuous while I was going through the medication, and so they just kind of kept me in shape and kept me working out to be ready for this season.
As far as where you're at now compared to last year, do you feel any different? Do you feel like you're as strong as you were prior to getting the disease? Or
basically feel the same. I still take treatments twice a day, so sometimes I get a little nauseous or dizzy depending on what I'm doing, but for the most part I feel great.
Aside from your work and desire to get back on the field, you're also very passionate in raising awareness for leukemia and also helping those who have the disease. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, after doing some research with my doctor and then attending a couple camps for kids with cancer this summer, I was able to see that the kind of cancer I have is pretty treatable, and I got pretty lucky. So I just went to my coaches and told them I wanted to try to help others that are going through similar situations that that might not get to play sports and stuff. So they've been great in helping put together these games to benefit cancer research and just kind of get the word out there about cancer.
And you yourself had quite a bit to do with the with Morningside's Fight Cancer game this year, as far as you developed a website where people could purchase items where all of the money went to the American Cancer Society, correct?
Yeah, my brother actually put together a website, and then I kind of helped with it a little bit, but it was my older brother and my family that did most of it, and then the American Cancer Society really stepped in and did a lot.
In addition to playing football, Austin and his family have been working hard at raising money for cancer awareness, including on October 26th, they housed a Let's Pack the House and Together Beat Cancer Night during the Mustangs' home football game against crosstown rival Briarcliff. This is truly an inspiring story for the NAIA and for Austin.
Yeah, you're right. What a great story and a great interview that he was. So now let's get back to what we're talking about with our playoffs, and we move into the fifth game of the first round, which pits 13th ranked Sterling at number 4 Baker. Now this is Sterling's first ever appearance in the FCS, while Baker is a playoff team with 12 previous trips. Baker has hosted 5 previous FCS games and is 3-2 overall at home. The last time Baker hosted, though, you have to go way back to 1993 in the quarterfinals when they won over Doane of Nebraska. Even though Sterling has never faced Baker in the playoffs, Sterling has met other Heart of America Athletic Conference teams recently. Culver Stockton during a Week 2 win this year, and then going back to last year, they lost to Benedictine. So what I look for is a nice home crowd because of the schools' proximity to each other.
Yeah, like you said, approximately 3 hours apart, so it should be a great experience for both sets of student athletes. And looking at the team specifically, the Wildcats are 10-1 on the year, and they shared the Heart of America Athletic Conference title with Benedictine and Missouri Valley. Baker enters the FCS riding an 8-game winning streak and have been dominant during the stretch, outscoring their opponents by an average of 29 points per game. The Wildcats' last first-round victory came in 1993 when they knocked off Hastings 39-19 in the Division II National Championship. For Sterling, the Warriors got off to a 1-2 start this year, but have won 7 in a row, including a 36-19 contest against Kansas Wesleyan this last Saturday. The Warriors have won by an average margin of 27 points during this 7-game win streak, and the offense is really getting it done, ranking in the top 10 in scoring and rushing offense. Overall, they've hit 200-plus yards rushing in 7 games this season, and in large part due to quarterback Reggie Langford, who has rushed for almost 1,100 yards this year, which ranks in the top 20 nationally. He's also thrown for about 1,400 yards and has accounted for 28 touchdowns this year for the Warriors. Running back Austin Bray, who's also a kick return specialist for the Warriors, is at over 800 yards rushing, so he's also another key component. Really for the Warriors, Coach Lambert has got them playing really well right now.
Yeah, Coach Lambert and his squad and Baker, they've got an 8-game winning streak, so we'll see who continues to roll in their lengthy winning streaks. Now let's turn to Game 6 of our 8-team playoff field, and it starts with 15th ranked Ottawa, and they travel to number 2 Grandview. Now this is the first meeting as well in the FCS, with Grandview hosting for the first time in school history. Grandview, we have to remember, is appearing in their second ever FCS and looks to notch its first ever win. Ottawa has never won on the road in the playoffs and is 0-6 heading into this year's playoffs. Overall, though, this is their 8th postseason, and they are 1-7 all-time in the postseason.
Looking at the Vikings, they're really they've been one of the special teams in the NAIA this year, and they're one of our last 2 unbeatens at 10-0. And they showcase one of the NAIA's toughest defenses, ranking among the top 5 in sacks, total defense per game, scoring defense per game, and rushing defense per game. And it's funny because on the opposite side of the ball, they've been equally as dominant, especially with quarterback Derek Fulton, who is in the top 10 in the NAIA in total offense with almost 3,000 yards this season. The sophomore leads the team in passing with a little more than 2,400 yards and in rushing with around 500 yards. He's also accounted for a team-best 27 touchdowns. Another individual to consider with Grandview is wide receiver Brady Rowland, who has had a tremendous season with 59 catches for more than 850 yards and 9 scores. Looking at the Braves now, they'll try to rebound from a 23-20 loss at the hands of Tabor this last Saturday. Ottawa is 5th in the NAIA in scoring offense at more than 40 points per game, and are led by running back Luke Lundy, who his 17 rushing scores is a team high. He's gone for more than 1,300 rushing yards this season and is averaging more than 6 yards per carry. You know, he's hit more than 100 yards rushing in each of his last 9 games, so a pretty impressive streak by Lundy. On the defensive side, Eric Brown leads the NAIA with 7 interceptions, so they're playing a little defense in Ottawa as well. You know, we've interacted with a lot of the coaches today on the show, and I want to give the thanks to Molly Brown and Todd Bailey of the Grandview Athletic Department, as they were able to get an interview with Coach Woodley for us so we could hear firsthand on how his team's doing this season.
Anytime you build a program now, obviously our situation's a little different because we started from ground zero, and first thing I wanted to implement, I wanted to get a good coaching staff put together, and obviously at this level, you know, we don't have a whole lot of full-time assistant coaches, even though I do have 3, but I wanted to get a good coaching staff in place. And then obviously the bottom line is I wanted to get good kids, and anybody that's been in coaching understands that good players make you a good coach. And that was my priority, was recruiting. We wanted to get good players in here, and our athletic director and our president understood that, and were behind us. We had 100% support in recruiting. And secondly, we wanted to get facilities in place, and they did that for us. They built us this $1 million locker room and a brand new weight room, and those are 2 areas that kids are always looking at in recruiting. You know, once you make the playoffs, you're an elite group of 16 teams, and any one of those teams can win the national title. So, you know, we feel we can win a national title just like the other 15 teams that are in the playoffs. That win over Drake really showed our kids that, hey, we can play with anybody. And you know, with the win, obviously, it's carried over. But I think they felt really good about themselves after that game, and felt that they could just go play with anybody in our league, and that's what they've done. Our kids have played at a real high level, and obviously that's confidence, number one, that they think they're good, and that's a big part of the battle, you know, and motivating the team. But these kids have come to work every day, and as I've stated earlier, they like practicing. I mean, it's a weird group, and that's what I like about these guys. But to go undefeated, it's hard to do. I polled the kids on Sunday after the win, find out how many kids have played on an undefeated team, and out of 65 kids we had in the room, only 5 of them had raised their hand. They may not think it now, but someday they'll look back and say, geez, I played on an undefeated team. We went through an entire season without a loss. So I think that, again, it's a feather in their hat, and it speaks for itself.
You know, Coach Woodley has obviously done a tremendous job with this Grandview program, as they're only in their 6th season of existence, and to go undefeated and qualify as one of the top-ranked teams in the FCS, pretty impressive.
Yeah, what a way to start a program in just its 6th year. So congratulations to a great Vikings program. Now we're going to get into 2 of the NAIA's more storied programs, and that brings us to the 7th game of our football championship series, when 14th ranked Georgetown travels to number 2 Carroll. Now this will be the 5th meeting in the playoffs, with the series tied at 2-2. In Carroll, they won the last meeting by a 35-3 score in Helena in 2011. So this will mark actually the 2nd meeting played out in Helena between these 2 teams in the playoffs. Now, all time in the playoffs, check this out. These are some whopping numbers, as Carroll has gone 26-6 when hosting a playoff game, and owns a current 6-game home playoff win streak. So quite the home field advantage in Helena. Georgetown, conversely, they struggled a bit on the road. They're 1-10 all time when playing on an opponent's home field, with the only true road game coming in '99. So we'll see which one, if the stats hold true with this matchup.
Yeah, you know, looking at the Fighting Saints specifically, they're obviously, like you said, one of the most decorated teams among the qualifiers, with 39 wins and 6 national titles in 21 appearances in the FCS. The Fighting Saints are 15-5 all time in the first round, and have currently won 12 straight games. Under the direction of head coach Mike Van Dies, the Fighting Saints have been a strong offense and an even more potent rushing attack. A strong defense and a potent rushing attack. The defense is holding opponents to just under 16 points per game, while the ground game is averaging 248 yards per game this season. And a lot of that's been in large part due to running back Dustin Rinker, who paces the offense with a career-high 1,500 plus yards this season, and he's ran for 100 plus yards in 9 straight games also. There's a lot of talented running backs in the football championship series this year. Now Georgetown, they possess a pretty strong passing attack centered around quarterback Neil Posset, who returned from injury this last weekend to lead Georgetown to a key victory over then number 15 Lindsey Wilson. Now he ended the regular season with more than 2,100 yards passing and 21 touchdowns. He's been troublesome on opposing offenses because of his ability to spread the ball around. His 5 different Georgetown receivers have at least 20 receptions this season. You know, you look at Georgetown, they're 9-9 all-time in the FCS first round, and they're looking to rebound after last year's kind of surprising early exit to Bethel, Tennessee. But I guarantee Coach Cronin, no matter where they go, is going to have that team poised and ready to play well.
And you know what? The nerves I don't think will be there. There'll be some excitement, but both teams, both coaches, both coaching staffs know how to get the job done in the playoffs. Now we turn our attention to Game 8 in the final first-round game as we see 16th-ranked St. Ambrose. They head to top-ranked Cumberlands. Now this is the first meeting as well in the FCS between these two squads. Both teams have a wealth of playoff experience, however, with St. Ambrose playing in its 13th event and Cumberlands is competing in its 7th. Cumberland stands 2-1 all-time when hosting a playoff game. Conversely, St. Ambrose is 2-8 all-time when playing on the road. Now Cumberlands is trying to advance past the quarterfinal round for the first time in its playoff history. Meanwhile, St. Ambrose is trying to snap a 5-game first-round losing streak, with their last win being in 2003. So a couple of losing streaks that both teams want to kind of get over.
Yeah, and we look at Cumberland specifically, and they possess, well, let me take a step back. They with Grandview are the only remaining unbeaten team at 10-0, and this is the first time they've been able to do this since 1988. And the Patriots themselves, they've arguably got the hottest offense heading into the football championship series, as they've outscored their opponents 185-38 over the last 13 quarters. And the Patriots, they're fueled by a run game that leads the NAIA, averaging more than 350 yards per game on the ground, and quarterback Aaron Craig has been a key part of that. He leads 4 Patriots with at least 300 yards rushing this season, with more than 700 yards and a team-high 25 touchdowns. Now historically, Cumberland's only owns a 2-6 record in the playoffs, with both wins coming in the first round, but you can't count out this hot Cumberland's team this year. Now for St. Ambrose, the Bees, they're 4-1 in the playoffs, and they bring a 7-3 record into the contest, and they've won 2 of their last 3. They're trying to snap a 5-game losing streak with their last postseason win coming in the 2003 first round. Now they've got an offense that ranks top 5 in the NAIA in passing, total offense, and scoring offense, and that's in large part due to the tandem of quarterback Eric Williamson, who was last year's Mid-States Football Association Midwest Player of the Year, and wide receiver Sam O'Donnell. They've both been very effective this year. Williamson has thrown for more than 3,200 yards this season and 32 touchdowns, while O'Donnell, who ranks first in the NAIA with more than 8 catches per game, has 74 catches for 774 yards. Pretty impressive from both individuals. You know, now let's take a look back and look at the entire field again and give a quick recap of what teams are going to be playing who and where. First of all, we got number 12 Northwestern at number 7 Missouri Valley, number 11 Tabor at number 8 Benedictine, number 9 Faulkner at number 6 St. Francis, number 10 Rocky Mountain at number 5 Morningside, number 13 Sterling at number 4 Baker, number 15 Ottawa at number 2 Grandview, number 14 Georgetown traveling to Helena to take on number 3 Carroll, and number 16 St. Ambrose going to number 1 Cumberlands.
You know, it's always exciting to see that we've got 2 first-timers in the playoff series. We've got Carroll, some storied programs, Cumberlands, Georgetown. It's really going to be exciting, another round of playoffs, and I look forward to it.
You're right. Fresh faces and perennial powerhouses always creates for a good mix. And you know, one thing to note is we'll have a new champion this year as our defending national champion failed to make the playoffs this season. Well, that puts a wrap on today's show, and on behalf of everyone at the NAIA, I want to congratulate the schools, coaches, and players on a great season. For more information on the NAIA Football Championship Series, visit the NAIA Football Championship page on NAIA.org. We'd also like to say a quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Play NAIA, the NAIA's Eligibility Center. For producer Lynn Meredith, director Chris Evans, my co-host Chad Waller, thank you for watching.